Hello, today I'm going to have a look at the transformation questions you can be asked in Core 1. There are three typical sorts of questions you can be asked. The first one is sketching graphs after transformations. So typically you'll be given a graph and you'll be told there is this transformation applied, sketch the new graph and show the key coordinates. The second sort is describing the transformations required to map the graph of one equation onto the graph of another equation. And the third is writing down the equation of the graph after it's been transformed. So let's have a look at the first sort. Here we've got a graph and it says sketch the graph of y equals f of minus x. Well, the first thing that we need to do is we need to recap our transformations. So there are 6 transformations. There are 2 translations. So to translate a units parallel to the x-axis, I take my f of x, so my original equation which hasn't changed, and I change it to f of x take away a. I can also translate a units parallel to the y-axis, and to do that I take my f of x and I add on a afterwards. So I do my equations before but add a onto the end. So those are my 2 translations. That's moving my graph. The other transformations I can do are stretches, and to stretch by scale factor A, I'm abbreviating scale factor to SF, but in the exam you should write scale factor in full, parallel to the x-axis. So to do this, I take my original equation, my f of x, I'm going to rewrite it as f of x over a. So you'll notice that stretching and translating in the x-axis, we do the opposite of what you'd expect. So to translate, I am subtracting a rather than adding a, and to stretch, I'm dividing by a rather than timesing by a. So for stretches and translations, I'm doing the opposite of what you'd expect, but in the y-axis, it's the same as you would expect. So to do this, I'm taking my f of x, and I'm going to rewrite it as a times f of x. And then the last 2 transformations that we need are reflections. And reflections are different. So for the translations, the things to do with the x-axis were inside the brackets, and the things to do with the y-axis were outside the brackets. The same with my stretches. To do with the x-axis was inside the brackets, to do with the y-axis is outside the brackets. Reflections are the opposite. So to reflect in the x-axis, I take my f of x and I change it to minus f of x. So to reflect in the x-axis, I'm changing it outside my function, and then to reflect in the y-axis I change inside the function. So I'm going to have f of x becoming f of minus x. So now I can come back to the question we were looking at, sketch the graph of y equals f of minus x. So this is going to be this reflection in the y-axis. So you must learn your transformations, you've got to know them off by heart. Once you know them off by heart, it's nice and straightforward. I can say y equals f of minus x, reflect in the y-axis, so I'm just going to sketch the graph. Do use a ruler, I'm doing it on the whiteboard, that's why I'm doing it fairly quickly. And then I can show my key value, so I can say that this is 1 minus 2, and that this is 2, 2. And you can see that if I reflect this graph, this line here is going to end up going up here instead, and my line down here at the bottom is going to end up going like this. So just reflected in the y-axis. This sort of question is really nice and easy if you learn your transformations. And then the second one, sketch the graph of y equals f of x plus 2. The key thing to note here is that I'm adding 2 outside of my brackets, So you can see it's going to be a translation of 2 units parallel to the y-axis. I can say y equals f of x plus 2. And then I can just sketch my axes. And I can say instead of going to the origin, I'm going to start at 2. But I am going to start off with my high point being on my left-hand side because I've not reflected it. And then I'm going to go out to 1. And then this is going to be at minus 2, 4. And this is going to be at 2, 3. So that's the first sort of question you can get. Just thinking about your transformations and sketching your graphs. Nice and straightforward. Describe the transformation that transforms the curve y equals x onto the curve y equals x minus 4. So we're adding or subtracting, so that's making us think of translations. I come to my translations, and you can see that because I'm taking away my number inside my brackets, we're going to do a translation parallel to the x-axis. And you can see that before I had root x, now I've got root of x minus 4. So a is just 4. The sign's right already inside my bracket. So I can say it's a translation of 4 units parallel to the x-axis. Nice, easy 2 marks if you've learnt your material. And then the final sort of question is something like this. The curve y equals root of x is stretched by scale factor 5 parallel to the x-axis. So we have a look at our stretches. To stretch parallel to the x-axis, I divide wherever I've got an x by my scale factor. I'm going to divide all my x's by 5. So instead of having y equals root x, I'm going to have y equals root, and then I'm going to replace my x by x over 5. Learn your transformations, and transformation questions are a gift, but you do have to learn them and know them inside out. Good luck with your transformations.